So here we're at the Norscott booth at the Seattle Boat Show, and this is Bill, the owner of the company. Yay!
Hello.
And Norscott makes these really cool shaft seals that we use at Aspen, and he's going to give us the 2-minute explanation of what this is and how it works.
So this is a dripless shaft seal system. This is a lip seal versus a compression or face seal. These are the nitro rubber lip seals.
Right. Okay.
You have 2 aft, 1 forward. They all face aft.
Yep.
And essentially, the shaft is inside this cavity, bathed in ATF.
Right. Automatic transmission fluid.
Automatic
really good
transmission fluid.
Premium oil. Yeah.
Which is these
grooves. Yeah.
Grooves here is where the ATF
and that's
circulates.
where the hose hooks up to it there.
Hose hooks up to it here. This is a bleed nut here to bleed air out.
Right.
So essentially this.
So when you're installing it, you want to fill it and then crack that nut to bleed the air out?
Yes, just a couple drops come out the bottom, tighten it back up. You're
okay, and if you don't do that, what happens?
Chances are you're going to have fluid in there. It's more of a just to make 100% sure
right. Okay.
that there isn't any issue
Good.
there.
Okay.
So essentially, the forward seal keeps any ATF from coming into the bilge. The aft seals, when the shaft is spinning, there's a weeping action.
Right.
Goes around the 2 lip seals, which lubricates them.
Right.
And that's how essentially you should see at least 1,000 runtime hours on the lip seals before you may start to see their age, meaning the fluid usage may
Bill,
increase.
we have some boats that were built in 2010 and 2011. They're still running with the original shaft seals.
Yeah.
So that's great.
I've had people come to me with 3,500 hours on their boat, and their fluid usage is normal, and they say, "Is there anything wrong?" And
we do change the oil occasionally in this.
You can after the first 100 hours, if you'd like, but it's aesthetic. What happens is some of the black coloring off these lip seals may mix in with the ATF.
Oh, that's what's making it black. Okay.
That's all it is. And it's totally aesthetic. You can drain it after about 100 hours, refill it, and then just good to go. But it's not going to affect the performance at all, just having that.
So this is the part of this goes up to the engine here.
Yes, this
right here. This goes up to the
here.
Yep.
And
then this is the shaft log back here with the propeller back in this area.
Exactly.
Okay. And then this is what lets it float a little bit.
Yes, this attaches it to the stern tube here. This log goes here.
All right.
And
then what sort of problems do you have? What are if somebody's got a problem with one of these, what typically do you see?
Typically what we see, misalignment.
Right.
Or they did not prep the shaft correctly when they installed it.
Oh, okay. So misalignment of the engine.
So if say this were the shaft, it would be, this is an extreme example, but the shaft would be inside the housing, cocked either right or left, and that would push the lip down and allow ATF to go through. Now the shaft prep, very simply, if it was a blunt end shaft on the transmission side, did they do a 15-degree chamfer?
Right.
If it's tapered, that's a different story.
Right.
Is the key way?
So if it's square up here, when you try to slip the shaft
what
seals
will happen
over,
is see how nicely that teams up there to the chamfer?
Right.
As opposed to if this were a blunt end, it would be very challenging to get this housing off of here.
Oh, so this little tube comes with it.
This is the installation tool or transfer tool is what we call it. When you buy the kit, it comes with this already inside. This is not the right side.
Okay.
And it's essentially to protect these lip seals. Everything we're doing, because they're lip seals, everything we're doing on installation is to protect those seals from being cut or nicked.
Right.
So that's what this transfer tool
then they're going to leak right out of the box.
Exactly. And we don't want that.
Right.
So any set screw marks, any pitting.
I know my team's real careful with this when they install them.
So the area on the shaft where the housing is going to run, you would mark that, and then take 150 emery cloth.
So let me show that, just so what it looks like. Okay.
Just standard 150 emery cloth. It's a rougher surface.
Right.
If this is the shaft.
Remember, you use that with water too. Do you need to do that, or just dry is fine?
Just dry is fine.
Okay.
You would then, if you're doing it by hand, you would sand it this way. You turn it, sand it, so that you're having perpendicular lines all the way around the shaft. You do not want to do this.
So what we did is we made a roller device that the shaft can sit in, and then we can roll it with that. Sure. And you can, so it's really easy to hold.
It's really easy. Well, you just make sure that those lines are not, because I've seen people do this, and that's kind of a rifling effect. You don't want that.
Right.
Reason being is when the ATF, when it gets warm, it will migrate underneath those channels. If those lines aren't perpendicular, you could have ATF going underneath the lip seals.
Okay.
When ATF gets warm, it likes to migrate.
Right.
The reason for the surface prep is because then these lip seals, the first 100 hours, is they're polishing a smooth spot on that rough surface that you just made. That's what helps regulate the ATF usage. If this were perfectly smooth, you would have ATF running right underneath.
Right of the way.
Use a lot more fluid.
Okay, and you don't want that.
You don't want that. So those are essentially the two things. what we find over and over, misalignment, or they did something incorrect or didn't follow one of the steps in the
One of the things we do, Bill, is we use not a real stiff exhaust hose like this. We use a softer silicone hose. Yes. And that seems to work nicely.
And that is also an option for, especially a tight fit. If you have a very tight fit, silicone, and a number of other people have used it also.
It's a flexible solution.
Yes.
The other thing I do is I paint the inside of my shaft log with a non-copper bottom paint. And what that does is it keeps any debris from growing on the shaft.
Oh, excellent.
So that when the motors are on soft mounts, they move forward. And I wanted the shaft, when it moved forward on the mounts, to be not dragging debris into the seals.
Yes.
And so, some details that we do at Aspen that make it a little better. The other thing we've had, Bill, is these tanks, after they get old, occasionally the temperature cycling, there's a joint in here that'll crack and they'll start leaking oil. We're thinking it's leaking oil down in the seals because this is empty. It's actually the tank itself has had little tiny pinholes.
Is it cracking along the line of the bracket, or is it cracking on the actual seam?
Yeah, there's a little seam. It was on the seam on the couple that we've had.
Do you know how old they were?
Old, 10 years old. That kind of a thing. So, plastic ages.
Yes,
I think I would probably replace the hose here too occasionally.
Yes, so the hose, the reason that we use this hose is because you can see through it.
Exactly.
It's not the ideal hose. The ideal hose would not be transparent, but it would be something
we couldn't see what's going on.
And that is...
Yeah. I talked to a guy that came back from Alaska with a Norscott seal, and he had this had turned from red, which is the oil, to clear, which has got salt water in it, which means that the rear seals had gone bad.
The rear seals had gone out,
and he came 1,400 miles back from Alaska just running with water in his system, and it worked.
Yes, you can run water in the system. If you're in a pinch, you can run any kind of oil, olive oil, fish oil.
Oh, really?
Anything,
fish oil.
In a pinch.
WD-40 maybe, I don't know.
And we've told people 1030 is fine, 1040. If you're in a pinch, you can run essentially anything in here that would act as a lubricant from getting from point A to point B. If you already have an issue with leaking seals, there's no you're not gonna hurt it.
Right.
But just put something in there.
Okay. Well, good, Bill. This has been super great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shake your hand here.
All right.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.